I'm not sure how well filming is going to go with an 11-week-old puppy, but we're going to try. Hello, dear friends. It's probably not a great time for me to filming. As I say, I've got Edward, my 11-week-old puppy. He's just woken up from a nap, but he's still very sleepy, so I'm hoping he's going to be quite chilled. But you may hear a little background noise from him. I'm sorry, it was either that or don't film. And I just really want to catch up with you guys. I also have a neighbour who's doing some DIY right as I wanted to film, so it's a little bit chaotic, but as I said, I just really wanted to check in with you guys because I feel like it's been so long. I've done a couple of vlogs and a pattern roundup since my last podcast, but I haven't done a podcast in quite a while and a lot has changed. I am married. I'm sure you'll all be very sick of hearing me talk about the wedding. Sorry if there is any interruptions. I'm just so paranoid about Edward having accidents inside the house. If anyone has any tips on the puppy phase, please give them to me because it's a lot. He is wonderful. He's such a joy, but it's also a lot. So I think I was saying, if you've got anything you'd like to know about the wedding, please leave a comment below. If not, I will shut up, I promise. Anyway, I didn't even really introduce myself properly. I'm Eleanor, also known as Cosy Books and Knits Online. It is absolutely lovely to have you with me here today. I hope you've got a cup of tea, a knitting project. I hope you're snuggled in, ready to have a little chat. If we've not met before, it's so lovely to have you. And if we have, thank you for coming back. I don't have loads to talk about today, so I think we're going to be able to just sort of whiz through this fairly reasonably and keep it at a decent length. I don't have any finished objects. I have been far too busy since my last podcast. Wedding, honeymoon, puppy. Busy. So yes, haven't got any finished projects, but I do have a couple of new whips, neither of which you have seen before. So we will get into that with the first one. This is what I'm calling my honeymoon socks. And that is because I cast on the first day of our honeymoon. And so they're almost like a little bit of a memento of the honeymoon, and I have finished all bar the heel, the first one. So because this was when we were on our honeymoon and I just wanted to sort of knit without thinking, I cast a sock on and I put in a line, that brighter green you can see there, to come back and do an afterthought heel. I do a 72 stitch sock. I do a 72 stitch sock when I'm doing plain stockinette. I have very wide feet. And the afterthought heels I've done before have been on half of it, so 36 stitches. However, on this one I'm trying 40 stitches for the heel, just to see if that gives me a little bit of extra space on my instep. So I will update you when I've put the heel on, but I feel like I'm just sort of experimenting a little bit with sock types, sock fits, to see what really works for me. I'm a little bit bored of heel flap and gusset, so I really want to try and find some alternative construction methods. However, I find that a short rope heel or an afterthought heel doesn't fit me super well because I've wide feet and high instep, so I'm trying some different things. So on my last pair of socks, I tried putting in a few rounds before I began the decreases for the heel, and that worked fine. This time I'm going to try and see if doing it over just over half the stitches instead of half the stitches helps. And then I'd also like to try, I think my next pair after these will be a toe up with perhaps a Flegel heel. Would like to try the Flegel heel because I'm just looking for something that is a bit more mindless. I don't like when I'm out and about and I have to, because I like to knit on my little circulars, I don't like if I'm out and about and I hit the heel and suddenly I have to switch to DPNs or magic loop and do the flap and gusset, and then when I get to the turning the heel, the stitch will change again, then you have to pick up and then remember your decreases. So I find it not as mindless as I would like. Bearing in mind, socks are my mindless knitting project, so even though they fit the best out of anything I've tried so far, I really do want to try some different constructions. So I know some of you guys have given me some brilliant suggestions for what to try next. But that's what we're doing on this one. This is in the Scheepjes, I think is how you pronounce it. I'm sorry, it must be really tiresome for me to always say I can't pronounce that brand and then I mean to look it up and I forget instantly. I'm just terrible, absolutely terrible with languages. So thank you to everyone who's corrected my pronunciation. I will get there. But yes, it's the Arcadia sock yarn in this absolutely stunning sunsetty colour. It just reminded me of sort of like American sunsets, Americana cowboys, that sort of thing. That aesthetic. It's really gorgeous. I love the stripes and the colour palette. It's really interesting. So I've finished one and then I have cast on the second sock, but as you see I've not even joined in the round. But I like to make sure it's on the needle when I finish one, just so that I don't get distracted and cast something else on it instead. So it's on the needle, but no progress as of yet. Oh, and I'm not sure I mentioned, but whilst I'm calling these the honeymoon socks, there is no pattern, they're just a vanilla sock from my brain. Okay, so my other work in progress is the garment that I am knitting quite monogamously on at the moment, and I think by my last podcast I hadn't cast this on yet. However, I believe I have shown it on the channel, so I don't think I'd started it by my last podcast, but I have spoken about it in some level of detail, I think. It's hard to remember because I've been so out of sorts what I have talked about and what I haven't. This is the Margaux top by Gregoria Fibres, and I have finished the body. Let me show you upside down. I finished the body and I have very almost finished the front panel. And then I just have the back panel to do, and then it'll have like ribbing across the boat neck and down the armholes. So I feel like I've been on this front panel for so long, but just whilst we were traveling, I didn't really focus on this at all. But I was knitting this on the wedding day, and there's a picture of me knitting it on the wedding day. I'll insert it here, which brought me a lot of joy. Yeah, I'm really loving this. This has been one that's been on my wish list for ages. I love Gregoria Fibres patterns because they just have so much texture in them. I love all the eyelets, all the pearl bumps, all the ribbing. They just, I love them so much. And I wanted something with a lot of texture to work on, that also was a summer top that I would actually wear. And so I am knitting this in the James C. Brett. It's 100% pure cotton DK, I believe is what it's called. It's a bit of a mouthful. But the colour is hot chocolate. And I love this colour. It's really similar to the sample picture, but perhaps slightly cooler, less red tones. But I absolutely love the colour of this. It's definitely my style. And the neckline is going to sit more or less kind of like that, with that real sort of boat neck, just with a panel of ribbing, which I'm really looking forward to. I think it's going to be gorgeous. With the eyelets, it's quite airy. This cotton has a really nice drape to it. Feels like it might stretch out, but I made the body not too long because of that. But it's got a really nice drape, which I really like. And yeah, this pattern is quite a simple construction. Obviously you're just sort of in the round, and then there's minimal shaping at the arms, minimal shaping at the neck because it's a boat neck, but I just love the texture a lot. Love the eyelets. And it's just been, because it's not got a crazy amount of shaping, it's been quite mindless despite the fact that it's got a lot of texture. So it's very, very engaging, and each pattern repeat is that very, very short chunk, so it's so easy to memorize. And then with each sort of panel there's little shaping other than at the very armholes, and I'm sure when I get to sort of putting on the finishings. But it just keeps it very engaging but very simple. So I'm really, really enjoying working on this. I don't even really have anything else to say about it. It's just, it's nice, easy, simple, but I'm just really, really looking forward to the finished product. And as I say, all I need to do on the top is just one more of these little ribbing sections, and then my front panel, then the back panel and the finishing touches, and obviously the front panel is, you know, from there to there, so it really shouldn't take me that long. So I really, really hope by the time we next catch up, this one will be a finished object. So those are the only projects I've been working on, really, just my mindless socks and then my garment, and I've been quite focused on just those two because, as I say, I've been travelling or busy back and forth for most of the month, so I've just been working on those, and resisting the urge to cast anything else on because I really, really am getting the urge for something wintry, some cables maybe. But let me now show you what else I've picked up. If you saw my summer knitting pattern roundup, you'll have seen some of the ideas of things I really, really liked for the summer. So I do have some yarn for a couple of those. The first one is this Rowan Summerlight DK. It's a 100% Egyptian cotton Rowan. And I just loved this pink and green combo. I just think it's so sweet, it's so much fun. And the idea I had was for an ivy top by Petite Knit in little, very, you know, only a couple of row stripes. I saw Laura Penrose making the ivy top, and I really enjoyed the idea of the construction. It sounds like it kind of starts with a raglan and then goes into more of a drop shoulder, and so I just really like that slightly elevated neckline, and it seemed like it would work really well for stripes, and I just thought it'd be really fun. So I picked up 4 balls, so 2 of each colour. I'm quite confident that's not going to be enough because these are only 50 grams, but I want it with a fair bit of negative ease and quite cropped. So I'll see how far I get, and this was only for my local yarn store, so if I need to get more, I need to get more. And dye lots don't bother me so much when they're stripes because there's a natural break point, as long as the colour isn't crazy different. So yeah, I thought I'd just pick up because I think this was all she had in my local yarn store. But if I have to pick up more, I will find more. I just thought that would be really, really sweet. The next one I got was this Footprints Wool Addicts by Lang Yarns. And this colour, I saw this last time I was at my local yarn store and I didn't buy it. And then I haven't stopped thinking about it. It's so gorgeous. I do not want to buy any more fingering weight yarn for garments for the summer, but it's so pretty. It's so pretty. It's got all of these browns and greens and a little bit of pink and a little bit of copper. It's just my colour palette, and I feel like the way that knits up is going to be so interesting with the like sort of two-tone, with the like it's 2 different colours applied together. It's just so interesting. And this is, see if I can get the ball band. It's a 45% cotton, 42% wool, 13% polyamide superwash blend. And I feel like that's really nice because it's like the wool is one strand and the cotton is another strand. I'm sure it's not going to show on camera, but you can see one strand. It looks as though one strand is cotton and one strand is wool. and then they're sort of different colours applied together. And it just has so much texture, so much colour, so much interest for just one coloured yarn. So I'm so interested to see how this is going to work up. I feel like it's giving me the like summer vibe of the cloud yarn that everyone has gone mad for on social media. It's giving me like a summery version of that. So it's a fingering weight and it's 100 grams, so I have 800 meters of this, so I should be able to make a decent sort of t-shirt, top, something like that. Haven't decided exactly what I'm going to make with this, however I just had to have it. And then the last thing I picked up was the Rowan Creative Linen. This is a 50% cotton, 50% linen, 100 grams in a DK weight. And I really like the texture of this. You can really kind of see the linen, and I love this pistachio green. And I got 2 hanks of this, and my idea is to make a little tie front vest, you know, all the ones that have just people have gone absolutely bonkers for the last couple of years on social media. And I keep meaning to get around to knitting one, and I haven't yet, but I absolutely love this colour, and I thought it would be absolutely perfect, go with so much of my summer clothing. And I thought it just felt like a nice blend. I love the texture. I feel like it will knit up with a lot of texture, and just look cute in something like one of the Mochi Knits type vests. Again, if you've got pattern suggestions for me, please drop them below. Haven't decided exactly what pattern. I may do a Tolster tank hack, because I know Rebecca Clow did a hack version of her Tolster tank where she did a little tie front version, and I feel like it would be quite an easy adaptation to make. Just had to rescue my yarn from the jaws of a vicious puppy. Are you a vicious puppy? Stop stealing wool. You have to go to bed. Come here. Let the people see you. You're a terror. You're an absolute menace to society. You're a menace. You're a terrible little menace. Aren't you? Yes, you're a menace. So, yeah, I think I might do a Tolster tie front tank top, or some other variety of tie front vest. This is going to be the thumbnail, you know. Have that back. Can I have it back, please? This is not a funny game. And with that, the yarny portion of the video is done with. So let's have a quick whiz through books. So this month I have read a few different things. I have listened to the audiobook of None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell, and I quite enjoyed that. I read The Family Upstairs, I think it's called, by Lisa Jewell, and didn't really enjoy it. I thought it was a bit too far-fetched, and I didn't like the ending. But None of This Is True I decided to give a go because Nicola Walker reads the audiobook. So the audiobook experience was just fantastic because she's a great actress, and it just really enhanced the experience. And I ended up really liking the story. For me, those sorts of crimes are a bit sort of, they are what they are. They're not amazing. They just entertain me. They're my sort of, same as like a BBC crime drama. You just stick it on and you just kind of enjoy it, but it's nothing groundbreaking, I would say. So that's the same with the Lisa Jewell books. A lot of those sorts of ones. So I don't have loads to say about that, except for the fact that Lisa Jewell redeemed herself a little bit. The next thing I read was We Solve Murders by Richard Osman. And obviously this is insanely popular. It's everywhere. I read The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman, and I didn't really enjoy it. I just thought it was a bit twee, and I thought that I would give his new series a go because it was a different premise. It was younger characters, and it felt the same. It was like someone took like a Jason Statham, John Wick type film and made it a bit over sentimental and wanted to give it a moral. And that's some people's cup of tea. I'm not gonna yuck anyone's yum, but for me, just doesn't do it. So I feel like now I feel quite confident in saying Richard Osman's book as a whole don't do it for me, because it's not just the one series. I always like to try a couple of different books from different series of an author before I decide the author's just not for me. So then the next thing I read was a success. It was something I enjoyed, and that is Powerless by Lauren Roberts. This was simply fun. It was just fun. I really enjoyed it. It was giving sort of Jennifer Armentrout, that sort of romantasy that isn't overly sexual, isn't just smut for the sake of smut, which sometimes, again, not to yuck anyone's yum, but for me, I just wanted something that was giving a bit more like of the romance, like to put the romance in romantasy, and a really good character. She is a real sort of Sarah J Maas type heroine, and the plot was almost sort of like a romantasy Hunger Games. So it really wasn't anything groundbreaking. All the sort of tropes, plot points, premise was quite similar to stuff I've seen before. The sort of secret heroine pretending to be something she's not. It was all tropes that we've seen before. However, it was pulled off really well and really fun. So if you are just looking for something for the summer that is going to give you some of those Sarah J Maas vibes, some of that sort of ACOTAR, Jennifer Armentrout vibe, but just be something simple, easy and enjoyable, then I would go for this one. I think it might technically be YA, young adult. It doesn't read super young, but it is quite clean. I just really enjoyed this one. And I found out that in the new book, I think it's the third one in this series that's just come out, there's a crown on the cover, and it was made by the same person who made my bridal crown. And I just thought it was a really fun fact, so I needed to make sure that I read this book so that I could sort of know whether to be excited about that fact or keep it quiet. Whether I liked the book or not, it would still be a really, really cool thing. I will actually link Howling Moon down below, and I'll try and put a picture here of my bridal tiara, because it filled my fantasy queen princess dreams. My husband said that when I was walking down the aisle, he thought I looked like a fairy princess, and I've never been so happy in my life. So, slight tangent, but I just was really, really living out my romantasy dreams with this series, with the crown, with everything this summer. I really fit the theme. So if you want those vibes, then I do recommend this one, and I'm going to pick up the sequel very, very soon. Next to tackle is my current reads. I am almost finished with Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson, which is the new Holly Jackson. Holly Jackson is one of my favourite crime thriller mystery writers. Love it. Love A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I loved her last one, The Reappearance of Rachel Price. Amazing. Not Quite Dead Yet is her adult debut, and actually I'm listening to the audiobook thanks to Libro FM, who have given me an influencer audio copy, so that was gifted. Thank you very much, though no pressure to talk about it. And obviously I would be reading this book anyway because I love Holly Jackson. I was very, very interested to see where this one would fit with me, because Five Survive I didn't like so much, but Reappearance of Rachel Price I loved. This one is definitely giving a bit more of the Reappearance of Rachel Price, although I kind of wish she would stop setting everything in the US, because she is one of our most popular and enjoyable British crime writers at the moment, and she is setting everything in the US. But that aside, I'm almost finished and really enjoying it. It's very, very, very fast paced, and the concept actually made me feel a little bit uncomfortable at first, but I feel like that's kind of the point. We are following a character who has, for reasons that I will let you discover, has only a few days to live, and she is trying to solve her own murder, basically. And that is a concept that there's been a couple of books that have tackled that recently, and I just think it's so much fun. Where have you got some alpaca? Where have you found that? Yeah, it's a fun concept. I'm really enjoying it. It's the same sort of, I think what Holly Jackson does really well is that she keeps the reader and the main characters very involved in the mystery. It's not a passive mystery where you are simply trying to work out what has happened. The events or the mystery are always still unfolding within her books, and I really enjoy that. Sometimes it can get a little bit far-fetched, but I don't mind because it's very enjoyable. So Holly Jackson aside, the other thing that I'm reading, my physical reader at the moment, is Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Some of you may know I am an enormous Taylor Jenkins Reid fan. I have read everything she's ever read. So when she has a new one out, obviously I read it immediately. This one I'm not even halfway through and I am struggling. It is not the writing, it is not the plot. Actually, the plot is really intriguing me, the writing is really good. I just don't do space. I don't enjoy space. I don't enjoy rockets. I don't enjoy planes. I don't enjoy spacecraft. And this is set in like the sort of 1980s post-space race, NASA, you know, women in space. So the concept to anyone else would probably be really, really interesting. To me, it's a bit much because Taylor Jenkins Reid always does a lot of research and makes the characters, the situations, the locations in her books feel very three-dimensional, and that includes, she does that through a lot of research and detail. So there's perhaps a bit too much detail about astronaut training and NASA, everything, for me personally. However, I am persisting because I know the story is going to be wonderful. It's a queer romance. There is quite a mysterious, dark sort of turn to it as well. So I think the plot itself I'm really going to enjoy. It's just taking me a minute to get that immersion in the story because the topic itself isn't super interesting to me. Okay, then a couple of things I wanted to mention was a few books I picked up recently that I would like to read. I went to Waterstones the other day and was recommended a couple of books by some of my friends who work in there. So I've got those, and then I've got one that I've been really excited for it to come out. And that first one is Six Wild Crowns by Holly Race. When I saw this edition with the sprayed edges, I had to have it. I just had to have it. This, I'm not even that sure the plot, but I know it's the 6 wives of Henry VIII with dragons. I love Tudor history. I don't usually read much Tudor fiction because I like the realistic history and I don't like fiction, but given that I feel like it's fantasy, it's, you know, there's so much suspension of disbelief already that I feel like I won't mind them bending the historical truth because dragons. I think there's some sapphic romance in here as well. It says kind of Priory of the Orange Tree, House of the Dragon, that sort of vibe, but with Tudor queens, and that sounds incredible to me. It sounds perfect. So I've been really looking forward to this one coming out, and I'm really looking forward to reading it. Then the ones I was recommended, the first one is The Safekeep by Yael van der Wouden. Again, sorry if I butchered that pronunciation. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But this sounds really interesting. I didn't read too much about it because when my friend told me to read it, I trust her opinion, but she did sort of tell me that it had some sort of slightly weird gothic vibes to it, a bit sort of Rebecca inspired, but if you're following like Mrs. Danvers instead of the new Mrs. De Winter, and that really intrigued me. So I think it's a bit of a sort of weird house, uncomfortable relationships. That sounds fabulous, and it's quite short, which is great. So I feel like this will be a touch of something different when I want a break from fantasy. The next one I picked up was The Goldens by Lauren Wilson. And again, I was sort of told that this was a bit of a Holly Jackson, Good Girl's Guide to Murder, truly devious Maureen Johnson type thing, and that if you like all of those sorts of things, it's young adult but apparently quite quality. Again, one of the women that I was speaking to in Waterstones had read it and said that if you like those sort of truly devious Good Girl's Guide to Murder, then you'd like this one. So I thought I would pick it up because I do love those things. And the back of it kind of sounded a little bit Saltburn-esque, which I really like, those sort of dark obsession thriller type stories. And I love them in the summer as well. If anything looks different, it's because I realised I missed a book out of the book haul. And that is Strange Houses by Yuketsu, which is a translated Japanese crime book. And this just sounded really interesting. It's blurbed by Janice Hallett, who I really enjoy. But the thing that really got me, I don't want to give you any spoilers, but it's got all of these like floor plans, transcripts, just really interesting formats for a murder mystery thriller. And actually I did start the first few pages of this, and it's quite dark, it's quite weird, and I just feel like I'm gonna have a lot of fun with this, and it's doing something different and interesting. So if you like a murder, if you like a mystery, a crime that plays with format and does something a bit different, then I think you should check this one out. And I'm sure by the time we next catch up, I will be able to tell you whether I enjoyed it. I know I don't usually do book hauls in this segment as well, because I'm conscious to keep the book content to a minimum because not everybody likes it. But if you have stayed and you have enjoyed it, please let me know, and thank you for staying and enjoying it and talking about books with me, because whilst I love knitting, and knitting is what we do on here mostly, books are my other great love in life, so I love to be able to share that with you guys too, and I love it when you guys like it. So thank you so much for joining me today. It has been wonderful to catch up with you, and let's get back to regular programming from this point onwards. I'll catch up with you next time. Bye.